Okay, Karen, first I'm going to take a look at your putting stroke. Now I want to go back and kind of break it down just a little bit. Start with, I like your setup. I like the left hand low grip that you're using with the stance looks good. Your setup posture for a good putting stroke is very, very good. Now as we take it back, you take it to about here, which is fine. And you have a longer follow through, which means you're accelerating through the ball. So I like that a lot. I also like the fact that you were not wristy. I can still see a gap here between your wrist, which means you really haven't flipped. So that's all very, very good. I want to talk about what we worked on a little bit. As you take it back, right now your head is down. Still down, of course. You've hit the ball, and you're going to start to see your head immediately start turning. Even before and then you don't really hold the putter. Your putter starts to recoil back immediately. So that's one of the things that we worked on a little bit. Let's look at Tiger. Takes it back. And then when he gets to the golf ball, his head is down. Head is still down. Head is still down. His club will come to a complete stop. And he holds it there. He holds his posture and he holds his finish. He will then slowly start to turn to look at the ball, but not until he has finished and completed his follow through. He's now looking at the ball, but he's looking while he's still in his posture. The reason this is important is that over time, you're trying to build up a memory of the feeling of force associated with the distance you're trying to hit. And that builds a strong database library to help make good choices about how hard to hit it. So you want to build a strong sensory database. The best time to absorb the memory of the strike you just had is the moment after you hit it. If you immediately turn your head, the visual information of watching the ball becomes dominant in your brain, and it does not absorb the memory and focus on the feeling of the shot, but just the sight of the roll. And so you rob yourself of the best time to absorb the sense of force at impact.
Hold, feel, and remember, don't look. Try to copy the feeling.
Okay, Karen, we're going to look at your full swing, and I'm going to compare you to Grant Wade, who played on the tour during the 90s and was considered as having one of the best swings in golf. He's now one of the top instructors of tour players, along with Joe Mayo, who lives here in Las Vegas. I've stopped you at impact because it's the most important position, because everything the golf ball does, how far it goes, how high it goes, how much it spins and curves, is a direct response to the laws of physics and motion and the geometry that you create at the moment of impact. First, I want to draw a box from the center of your ankles to the top of your head and kind of look at where your weight is distributed. You certainly have more weight on your front leg, just like Grant does, but you can certainly see how Grant is more on top of his foot, his left foot, than you are. You're hanging back just a little bit. The reason that is important is that when you're hitting an iron when the ball's on the ground. In order to get maximum performance and maximum ball speed from the swing speed that you create, you must hit the ball first before you hit the ground, and you want to hit the ball in the center of the club face and not low on the club. If we look at Grant as he hits this shot, you can see the divot that he's taken. This here is the divot, and there's the ball. He hit the ball first and then the ground. So the low point of his swing was in front of the ball. And that means that when he arrived at the ball, his club was not finished going down. It still had a few inches of downward movement before it bottomed out and would go back up again. You have a tendency to kind of pick the ball and not hit the ground. The low point of your arc will tend to follow wherever the center of your mass is. And so if you've got more weight on your front foot, your forward leg, then the circle, the center of your circle will be more forward also. And so if the center of the circle is more forward, then that will dictate or determine the low point of your arc. Now we're going to look at, as you come through the ball, we're going to focus on your left arm right here. Here's Grant's left arm. This is right before impact. And you have a very good extended left arm, just like Grant does. You're really in a good position. Let's first take a look at Grant. He has a nice extension in his left arm. At impact, he still has a very nice extension. Elbows are close together. He still has a nice extension in that left arm. Head is still down. Extended right arm. Elbows close together. When he gets to the ninth position, this is when the right arm is parallel to the ground. He still has a fairly nice extension in both arms, and elbows are close together. When I look at his left hand, you can see it underneath the right hand. His wrists are kind of facing each other right there. They've kind of crossed. So let's take a look at how you go through impact. You have a nice extended left arm right there, but you start to bend that left elbow. So now, instead of having that nice extension, this elbow is starting to break down. The elbows are starting to separate a little bit. You can see how those elbows are separating. You can see that left elbow is going up much higher than the other. You've already lifted your head and starting to look up. When the right arm gets parallel, you can see where your left hand, the white glove, is above the right hand. So Grant had his below, so you really haven't let those wrists face each other and cross in order to release and get ready to re-hinge the club up in the air. One of the things that causes you to not hit the ground, or one of the main things, is not hitting through the ball with extended arms right there. You want to hit it through the ball with extended arms. And you have a tendency to pull the handle into your body instead of extending out through the ball. So the way to work on that is to do some small little drills, almost little pitching drills, where you're just swinging and you're just going to take it back about waist high, and you're going to come through and try to almost hit the ball and stop in the position that Grant is in. So just hit some small little swings and try to pose, kind of what we did in our chipping and pitching drills. Try to pose with extended arms so that you maintain the extension and maintain the radius length of your swing arc, and not let it shorten as you go through the ball. So in terms of your iron play, I would like to see you work on just hitting through the ball with extension. one of the things that'll help, and I'm going to talk about it when I look at your driver swing, is you do have things that in your grip that cause you to move in the way you do. The way you hold the club almost can dictate how you will move the club through the ball. And your grip is causing you to move in ways that are not optimal for a good golf swing. Your left hand is in a very weak position, which means it's rotated to the target side. Your thumb is on top, and your right hand is in too strong a position. So you have both hands fighting each other. It's very difficult to be consistent and develop other body actions that are complementary to a good golf swing when you have the left hand in a weak position and the right hand in a strong position. They're just going to fight each other. I'm now going to take a look at some of the things that you do in your backswing that might be adjusted slightly to help you hit the ball a little bit more consistently solid, but also hit it a little bit, create a little bit more club head speed so that you hit it a little bit further. I'm going to take Grant back first, and I'm going to stop him in the 3 position. This is when the left arm is parallel to the ground. So as he gets to this position where his left arm is parallel, his shaft is straight up into a vertical position, and he's hinged his wrist upward. So I'm going to take you back now to the 3 position, right about there. So your left arm is parallel, but you do not have the same amount of wrist hinge that he does. Now, normally I don't go through a long list of things to work on. I think people should work on their swing in very small doses, just one small step at a time. But since I'm not going to see you again, I wanted to give you kind of a complete overview of fundamentals, but put most of these things that I'm saying on the back burner. I'll wrap up this video with the things I want you to focus on first and ignore some of the other things until later. So one of the things I would like you to work on is to start hinging your wrist a little bit sooner. If we look at Grant, he starts to hinge that club up with his hands very early as he swings it back. There, and you have very little wrist action. You're almost still very, very straight even when you're almost in the 3 position, very extended. So even when you get to this position, I would like to see that club start to be much further up. So I want you to start hinging your wrist much faster and sooner in your backswing. As I take you further back to the end of your backswing, that's as far back as you go. In fact, you're almost just slightly above the 3 position. A lot of people would consider this a half swing, that you're really not taking a full golf swing. When Grant gets to the top of his swing, his shaft is much further back, still has a nice right angle there. And so this is the top of your backswings. Now we're going to look at your driver swing in regards to the wrist hinge. And on the left was your driver swing before we talked about trying to increase the wrist hinge. So I'm going to take it back to the end of the swing. Okay, your club basically has stopped right about there. So that right there is about as far back as your shaft goes.
Good. That's definitely more wrist hinge.
Now let's look at your practice swing. I had you do some drills and feel the wrist hinge. And you were focusing on feeling something new and different in your wrist. Now, look how far back you take that club. So you have loaded much more power in that club than you have on the left. And so you're going to generate a lot more club head speed. The other thing I talked about, and it's critical, it's one of the first things I would work on, is your grip. You had a tendency to hit the ball very low and often left. And as I demonstrated to you, is because your right hand was so far underneath the handle, that right hand would have a tendency to naturally roll to a palm position at impact. And because it started underneath, that rolling the palm to the back of the ball automatically would turn the club over and make that club arrive at the ball too closed. I'm now going to take a look at your club head as it goes through the ball, and I want you to notice how that club head has rolled over right there. So your club head is twisted way left and low. That toe is really turned over. I would like to actually see that the face of the club held facing the ball, but you've twisted it and rotated it over so quickly that that ball is going to go very low. The face of that club is almost like that. It's almost down as you come through, and it was clearly a product of the way you grip the club with your right hand. And I talked about that a little bit in our session.
Let's start with what we do know. I know that right now this club has 13 and a half loft. You probably got the high loft because you needed help getting it up in the air.
Correct.
Okay. Your club is arriving at the ball with hardly any loft. Okay? So what is happening right now? Your subconscious mind, when it sees that ball down there, but I'm just going to swing as if I'm hitting that ball with the palm of my hand. So what's natural and common for the brain, the subconscious partner, is just boom, deliver the hand in this position. It's not logical for your brain to do this or this. It's logical for it to do that. And so it will do that, regardless of where you started it at the address position. But you started here. Your hand is just like that. And the only way that club could be delivered with 13.5 degrees aloft is for you to hit the ball with it coming back to the impact here. But what this hand does is your subconscious mind doesn't think that's logical. It thinks this is logical. But look what it did to the club. Okay? So if your brain is going to return to the ball at impact here, you better start with it here. Okay?
Okay, I've captured your right hand on the right here. This is when I made an adjustment of your right hand. So we're going to look at those. I don't have a close-up of this, but over on the left with your old grip, and I can easily see your left thumb sitting on top of the shaft, so your right hand is not covering the thumb. The palm, or the forefinger, is way underneath and kind of pointing over this way. The crease in your right hand is pointing back too much. And then the change I made, this forefinger right there is right there in line with the shaft. So you're pointing that finger right down to the ground. And that's an indication that your right palm is on plane, that the plane of your palm is in the same plane as the face of the club. So when you hit the ball with the palm of the hand, your club face will be square to the ball and deliver the correct loft to the ball. This was uncomfortable, but this is the position you need your hand in.
I'm going to set my club at the same angle you set yours. That's the swing point. That means when this comes back here, it needs to be on this tilt. You have a tendency to come straight up with it. And so then it's a straight down. You need to feel like it's back here low. Okay, so take it back and stop. I'm going to put the shaft in that correct plane. So we need to be more here. That's the angle that goes with your address. But you tend to be here. So we're still wrist hinting or some modification. Subconscious mind is trying to figure out where that ball is in this new swing pattern. Yes. It's close now, Karen.
That's the one.
It's your one.
That's the one we were
There
waiting
she goes.
on. That's the one we're waiting on right there.
Yeah.